Here we go. Hi, Tim and Olivia. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's symposium conversation based on your collaboration for the Stay at Home Symposium. It's so nice to speak to both of you and include you on this series. And I'm so excited to share what you've created together. And I guess I wanted to start off this conversation just by asking Olivia, so why were you inspired by this art piece by Audrey, and how did you convert it into something musical?
Yeah. Okay. So this piece spoke out to me in a lot of different ways. Mostly like I don't like cookie cutter lines like ever in art. It's basic to me and I don't see movement in that. And this piece spoke out to me not only because it doesn't have cookie cutter lines, but also the texture is also like really moving to me, and I love to see movement in art. That's how I get like the movement in my music. um and recently I've been to the Rothko Chapel, which is in Houston where I go to school, and it this piece reminds me a lot of Rothko's art in terms that it moves so much, and the longer that you stare at it, the more it moves. And so I just like spent a long time just staring at this and just like seeing what all I see. And I kept seeing new different things and hearing different things in my head based off of just looking at this. Um, so yeah, it was just really inspirational. And yeah, I love this piece of art. So I was able to create something really easily.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so what was the process for writing for solo bass, and like how you interpreted the textures and this sort of experience of the art and making it into something that Tim could premiere?
Yeah, so this piece is a part of a collection for solo works. And so this is my second piece, the first one being a flute piece. And basically, for me, this is just I'm getting in depth in one instrument, and I want the performer to be as relaxed and free in this piece as possible. That's why it is called free verse, just like the poetry. So for me, the process is really interesting. I have lots of different processes, and this time it was very different for me. Sometimes I like literally draw out the piece in like shapes, colors, like all kinds of things, like literally just like it's an artwork itself. But for this piece, since I kind of already had the art in my head and I kind of had the movement already in my head, I started with just pitch classes and working off of that. And I just wanted to explore the bass and its capabilities as much as possible. And Tim can go off of that because it's kind of, it's a little bit difficult, but like I said, I wanted to like explore how far I can go in each like extended technique and the range and all kinds of things. So yeah, but this has been great to work on. I'm really excited.
That's awesome. Yeah, Tim, if you have any thoughts or want to jump in here about your experience working on this piece, we'd love to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not much of an art person, so it was kind of hard for me to like get inspiration from the art piece, I guess. But this is like the first time I've really worked on a piece, kind of like Olivia's, like kind of more modern with extended techniques. So it's really been interesting for me to like delve into that kind of stuff. Um, for the bass, like one thing that's like been interesting that we've looked at is kind of like the extension where like normally the bass low string goes down to an E, but since I have the extension on my bass, it goes down to a C, and you can get like different harmonics based on which extension thing that you close. And that's just like something that's very different from every other instrument.
Mhm.
Um, and then also another cool thing that we encountered was so Olivia plays cello, and she wanted to like get a sound where she was playing the bow under the bridge, and on the cello it makes a really scratchy noise, but on the bass it has a very like high pitched noise, and she didn't realize that until we met up and I showed her, and she was like, I wanted a more scratchy sound, so instead
Yeah.
I moved my bow vertically along the strings, and that created kind of a similar sound. So yeah, it's just kind of like things you wouldn't really think of that are different about the bass than other string instruments.
Yeah. I was like completely not expecting the sound of some things because like he said, I am a cellist. And so like I've played a lot of these extended techniques on the cello and they're completely different sound than on the bass. Like the bass is so unique compared to all the other string instruments. And honestly, there's not enough repertoire for it, like good contemporary repertoire. So it's been like really, really interesting working with him on this piece and like figuring out everything that I did not know about the bass. And that's really my favorite part about working with a musician is that you learn so much, you know? Yeah.
Right. That's very cool to hear. And it's really interesting to hear these like intricacies and the process based on the instrument and all of that. Tim, is this your first time working on like a world premiere piece for solo bass?
Yeah, it is. It is definitely my first time. I think I've done like a few world premieres of orchestra pieces, but this is my first like solo one.
And so how would you describe, I guess, like the experience of bringing a new piece into the world for solo bass, like how that, as opposed to interpreting something that's been played many times before?
Yeah, I think it gives me like a lot of freedom, like it hasn't been done before, so I can kind of choose like certain ways that I want to do things that like I guess it's not like kind of molded by what other people have already done.
Mhm.
But yeah, as Olivia said, the bass repertoire does seem kind of slim in all areas, but I'm glad to be bringing another piece to the repertoire.
That's awesome. And I hope that this piece will take you to many different potential concerts in your career. And I hope it has a life outside of this container of the symposium. And it sounds like this series that you're creating, Olivia, of solo works is very interesting. And it's going to be so cool to see how that all comes together and everything.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was so great to speak to both of you. Is there anything else you'd like to add about this process, or do you feel like it's all you had it all covered in this conversation and you just want the music to speak for itself?
I feel like it was mostly all covered. Yeah, I'm just really excited to hear it and kind of see what all Tim interpreted the piece as. Because like he said, this is like the only interpretation that I've heard too. So yeah, I'm really excited.
That's awesome. Well, thank you both so much for your time, and I'm so excited to share this with our audience.
Thank you.